There is a very specific kind of dread that sets in when you are driving a lonely stretch of road at 2 in the morning. The world shrinks down to exactly what your headlights can reach, and beyond that heavy fog, the silence feels heavy. This isolation takes on unique shapes depending on the geography. In Pakistan, it might be the flat, desolate highways lined with thorny kikar trees near Faisalabad, or the dense, freezing alpine forests climbing into the mountains of Cologne. When travelers suffer a mechanical breakdown or seek shelter in these remote pockets, they often report encounters that defy natural explanation, moments where the laws of physics and biology seem to bend. By examining these first-hand accounts, we can start to categorize these unseen threats into two distinct profiles. On one side, the physical scavenger; on the other, the residual mimic. Identifying the differences between these two is about more than just curiosity. By looking at how these entities interact with their environments, we can begin to understand the specific strategies they use when humans cross into their domain. Our first profile comes from a trucker named Shahbaz. He was hauling a load of wheat near Multan, moving through a stretch of highway where the only signs of life are the occasional dim lights of a distant roadside dhaba. Shahbaz stopped to help what he thought was a broken-down truck. Instead, he found the driver, Akram, hiding in the cabin. Akram wasn't waiting for a mechanic. He was paralyzed by something outside that he couldn't see, but could definitely feel. The presence was unmistakably tactile. Both men listened as heavy, rhythmic breathing fogged the exterior of the cabin glass. Then, the heavy metal chains draped across the bumper began to clink and rattle, as if a physical hand were raking through them. Then the entity began to interact with the cargo. Through the side mirrors, Shahbaz watched as 50-kilogram bags of grain were pulled from the road and violently dragged backward into the dark bushes by an invisible weight. The following morning provided a crime scene of physical evidence. There were clear drag trails, a shredded grain bag, and a rusted iron hook discovered strangely shoved beneath the truck seat. This chart maps those traits against traditional ghost lore. The evidence, the snapped axle, stolen grain, and rusted hook, points toward something with mass and kinetic force. It aligns with regional jinn or cryptid accounts existing in the material world. These details suggest a drive for physical resources. Rather than a spirit bound by memory or grief, the highway entity behaves like a localized predator, exerting force to claim what it needs from the travelers passing through. Our second profile takes us to the alpine forests of Kalam. A tourist named Bilal and his family, unable to find a room in town, took refuge in an ancient wooden hotel. The structure was isolated, weathered, and shared a direct border with an old graveyard. Bilal's first warning was a visual anomaly. He spotted a massive shadow figure standing on a high balcony, a design element that was structurally impossible for a human to access or stand upon. The hotel was empty, yet it began to fill with impossible noise. Bilal and his family heard the distinct sounds of running children, laughing women, and phantom footsteps pacing the wooden floors above them. The encounter turned aggressive when Bilal's wife was trapped on a heavy wooden bed. As the family watched, the bed began to violently shake and heave from underneath, despite there being no one else in the room. This sequence defines the residual mimic. Lacking a physical form to scavenge goods, it relies on sight memory. It uses auditory illusions to disorient targets, drawing them into a false sense of security before escalating to a kinetic strike. While the highway scavenger targeted physical cargo, the mimic focused on the psyche. By projecting the sounds of a bustling hotel against the backdrop of the graveyard outside, it transformed a place of shelter into a psychological trap designed to overwhelm the people inside. Comparing these encounters reveals a shared requirement. Whether an entity is looking for physical grain or a psychological reaction, both strategies require total social and geographic isolation to succeed. The aftermath for the victims is a permanent shift in behavior. Shahbaz no longer drives desolate routes alone, and Bilal's family abandoned their belongings in that hotel, choosing the freezing mountain night over staying one more hour in that room. The most consistent warning sign is a feeling of unnatural deadness. It's the silence around a truck that should be making noise, or the stillness of a hotel that should be full of life. If your own instinct tells you that a remote environment feels fundamentally wrong, do not stop to investigate. The survivors in these stories didn't escape because they understood the taxonomy. They escaped because they left before the entity could finish its work. These empty highways and mountain forests are not just gaps between destinations. They are occupied territories, and when we enter them at night, we are simply passing through a space that all